What is going on? Welcome back. Thursday, another college football sports or college football preview on Heavy Pour Sports. Boys, what's going on? Oh, Hammer's blacked out. T can hear us. T can't hear
I
us.
can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm in black mode.
Very nice. Very nice. We had some football on. Tulane not looking great right now. My Dolphins not looking great. And had some Kentucky exhibition basketball also not great. But it is dark mode in Neyland. I'm sure y'all are excited for that. I haven't seen a video. I haven't seen a dope video like last year. Has one been released yet?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it on the Twitter. You guys gotta share it out. Maybe put it in this link here. Is it as good as the one last year?
Oh, it's pretty sweet.
I think I like the one last year better, but this one is still really good. Like no beef. Excuse me, and it stays with the times because that movie Tron is coming out, and so it kind of falls in line with that Tron movie. It's pretty dope. I thought the whole symbiote thing, infecting him and changing him from orange to black was just out of control dope last year. But this one's super dope too.
Yeah, what's the movie? I'm blanking on the movie that it's from.
Venom.
Yeah, Venom. Yeah. That was a good one. I appreciate it. Not as good as Kentucky basketball videos, but that was a pretty good one.
That's correct. It is not as good because they're not the same because we're better. So you are correct. It is not as good. You're right because it's a step above.
Not what I was meaning, but yeah. So I guess we'll start off with recapping last week's game. That was embarrassing if you were a Kentucky fan. I think Tennessee fans had their issues with some of the defense, but ultimately you drop 50-some points or dang near 50. What was the final score? I didn't remember. I was so – did you all put 50 on us?
It was, 56-24?
Is that what it was? Yeah. And one of our best
56-34.
34, excuse me. Yeah.
34. Well, I would say one of our best offensive games to date, but just couldn't do anything defensively. In my mind, the turning point was that last drive y'all had in a minute 30. We go score, bring it within 7, getting ready to get the ball back at the start of the second half. And just let y'all walk down, score a touchdown, massive swing there, and then y'all got to stop right out the gate, and then y'all just never look back. The game was not close. My prediction was that it was going to be close through 4 until the fourth. That was wrong because by the middle of the third, y'all had blown that thing pretty much wide open.
Go ahead, Hammer. Okay. So I think I've been saying this for a while. Our defense is going to give up points, so that is what it is. I give Tim Banks, I think, more grace than most people do because I understand what he's playing with. Now, he's part to blame because we haven't spent enough effort in recruiting in the secondary and stuff. And so we don't have a next man up who's still a 4-star or a 5-star. You got 3 stars, which there's no problem with that, but typically they take some time to develop. So I understand that we're going to give up points because we don't have McCoy out there and Ricky Gibson out there. So at this point, with our defense being one of the top scoring defense and top tackle for loss defense and top sack defenses, I'll take it. Like, we're going to give up some, but we'll at least get you something back defensively. And this is just going to be a year where the offense is going to have to carry us. Defense carried us last year. offensive carriers this year. So I mean, the Kentucky game was no exception. And I don't know what it is, but people always seem to have their Heisman moments or their best type games against us. Stockton, great game this year. Last year, Carson Beck was stinking up the joint, and then he played like a Heisman against us. So people, I don't know if it's we allow them or they just really want to step it up against Tennessee, but I'm just kind of
Probably
used
both.
to it at this point. Yeah. So I'm kind of used to it. So just looking for the offense to carry us however far we're gonna go.
Yeah, I think the big thing on defense, T, for me was just the poor tackling. There were times where if we could wrap up, we could have stopped some of those drives, some of those long gains, and no Arian Carter. Of course, we've not had McCoy or Gibson all year, and we got a little thin on the defensive line. So I kind of expected that to improve, but it hasn't. And the whole "we'll fix it in the second half" thing has kind of become a running joke here between you and I.
Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, if we're going to do anything significant with this season, it's going to have to be because the offense has elevated more than what the defense is lagging. And that's really frustrating and unfortunate to see based on what we had last year defensively. A lot of Tennessee fans will tell you, man, why can't we have a good offense and a good defense the same year? Because if we had last year's defense or something that resembled last year's defense with this offense, then we would be right in the mix of, the higher seeds in the playoff talk. So, I mean, unfortunately, it looks like it is what it is. I mean, I don't think there's any turning this thing around this point in the season. So, I mean, yeah, we're just going to have to go out there. We're going to have to outscore other teams. But fortunately, Joey has played far beyond what anybody, Tennessee fan or not, has expected. So, I mean, that's what we're going to have to hang our hat on. We're just going to have to accept it and understand that this is going to have to be a team that outscores the opponent, and that's really going to be important with a couple key games coming up that will go a long way towards determining several people's future in the postseason. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you're spot on about the tackling. Our tackling is absolutely atrocious. And so how do you make up for that? It's got to be by the effort of all 11 dudes out there on defense. We already know we're going to miss some tackles, so rally up so that when the guy makes the juke and makes the first man miss, the next guy is right there to just have him fall into his arms, since we're not really smacking anybody. Like we effort has to be on a million, and we got to be flying to the ball because we miss so many tackles. Somebody else has to be there to rally up to help kind of cover up those mistakes. It seems like it's gotten a little better since the Mississippi State game when you and I were lamenting that our angles have not been as bad. But it doesn't matter if you can't finish the play. So get the right angles, get a couple more bodies around the ball every time so that we can secure the tackle, because we know too often at least the first guy is not going to make that tackle.
Yeah, and we've even seen kind of the swarm mentality at times in games this year, but then there's also times where there's not a defender around within 5 yards, and sometimes with even in the frame of the camera. And it just baffles me that we get out of position that bad, or we're not understanding our assignments, or we're just not playing disciplined, and then we're chasing backs of jerseys, and you can't do that in this league against anybody, man. These are all D1 SEC caliber athletes. So it's just we've got to not be a bend but don't break, because we're breaking as much as we're bending, and that's what concerns me with certainly with Peabody. And you spoke to it because we've seen it time and time again, T, with I won't say average quarterback, because I don't think anybody would tell you Gunnar Stockton's average, but quarterbacks that maybe aren't playing up to up to par suddenly have breakout games. And we've seen Mateer struggle since he came back from his hand surgery. He was having a pretty good season up until that point, and then since he's come back, he's not looked the same. I don't want this to be the get right game for John Mateer.
Yeah.
And that I'm really concerned. And Rando, no offense, because you and I spoke, and I've said it publicly.
Where everybody's get right game.
I think Cutter Boley is very talented. Defended him to some idiot on Twitter the other day, and really think that he could, if everything works out and he stays, he could really be a staple in Kentucky's future. But I mean, let's be honest. He shouldn't have come out there as a freshman and torched our secondary the way he did. I mean, just pure and simple.
Yeah, if you're comparing offenses, you would say Oklahoma's offense better than Kentucky. So if Kentucky drops 30-some on you, maybe you're worried about. Now you are playing in Neyland, and it's going to be loud, and that's going to affect him as well. He's looked better each game since the hand surgery. He looked terrible against Texas, but seems to get better. But I think you just have to be able to. And T spoke to this before. If you're having trouble tackling, if you're missing assignments, the secondary is kind of lacking. The way to help that is you got to get in the backfield, right? So find a way to bring some heat and put pressure on. Now he is athletic and he can escape, but if you do all the staples, set the edges, you discipline your gaps, but send pressure and get him dancing around, then he's not going to be able to let the defense, or the defense won't have to protect or cover for 3, 4, 5 seconds and get you in trouble.
Yeah, unfortunately, everything you just said, we struggle with doing that. So,
yeah, but it's now. I think I've asked this before. I forget what you all said. Does Banks typically send pressure, try to overload the O-line, or does he say we're going to win with 4 and play coverage in the back end?
He blitzes, especially at the beginning of the season, because Arian Carter was that dude was in the backfield in -2 seconds. He was just a missile. I think
against Oklahoma,
I don't think he's going to play.
I
think he's questionable.
It's a game time decision, but I don't think he plays.
Yeah. But I think that Tim Banks kind of understands what we're dealing with in the secondary. So I think he understands that there's a need to try to get some pressure. And I think that's why we're leading, or one of the top, I don't know where we rank, but one of the top 5 teams in the country with like sacks and tackle for loss and that kind of stuff. Cause I think he understands like, hey, we're going to give some, we might as well get some too. And he's been leaning heavily on trying to get some as well. And so that's why we see our guys in the secondary get beat sometimes, because they are on an island, but it's also putting us in a position to, make some splash plays defensively as well.
Yeah. I know, to go a little more in depth on the Kentucky side, outside of the end of the first half, beginning of the second half. There was some things. We were down Seth McGowan, which hurt us. JP really stepped up. He looked good. Some of the freshmen receivers, Millers, kind of stepped up and looked good. And like you said, Hammer, Cutter really, really started to progress. That dude on X, and he wasn't super talented. I don't know how you can watch that throw. Now, it was in garbage time. That throw where he's rolling to the left and sticks it right on the dude's chest, running to the front pylon for that last touchdown of the game. You're not talented, you're not making that throw, on top of all the other things that he did throughout the game, escaping pressure, extending plays. Really just was the only good thing that you looked at in that game, was like, hey, Cutter could potentially be a dude. And then coming on the backside of it, the Animal Tennessee radio said it, we talked about last week, and I don't know how you get embarrassed in that game like that at home, when you had opportunities to at least keep it close and keep your job going in Auburn. But that's kind of where we're at now. And, looking ahead to that game, which, again, I hate to say unfortunately, but is, if you want Stoops gone, a winnable game, right? we could go to Auburn and win that game and get Hugh Freeze. They got a quarterback change. So we'll see how that goes. But Brad White's defensive system seems to be the heart and soul of the Kentucky team, keep us in games 80% of the time. Unfortunately, most of the time, it looks like trash is against Tennessee. I don't know what it is about. It must be the way Heupel spreads out and he plays all 53 in the third and really uses, try to use every blade of grass. Plus, your run game and your O-line has been very good. It just seems that the ability to play with tempo, not necessarily fast, but with tempo, be able to play quick, slow it down when you need to. Our inability to get different personnel changes in the game and down and distance situations kills us, man. And every single year, Brad White's defense and what I would say some talented players on that side of the ball just get completely embarrassed and just they are outmatched, look out coached, and I think that's the hardest part of watching us play Texas super tight, and then y'all come in our house and there was never a shot in that game outside of maybe the first 20 minutes of gameplay.
So it's a good. I don't know if you still got more. Do you have anything else on the game?
No.
All right. So that's the perfect segue to the craziness that is the coaching scene in college football, right? Because like to your credit, you've been calling for Stoops for a while, but at this point, do you want Kentucky? Not because you want to keep Stoops, but where would Kentucky be on the pecking order now with all these vacancies? Is Kentucky where the top coach or whoever the best coaches that are going to be out there? You know what I'm saying? Like you're competing against LSU and Florida and Penn State and Vatech and all this. So where will Kentucky rank on that if you do fire Stoops? So do you still want to get rid of him knowing what you got to compete against?
Yes, 100%. Because I do think if it was announced tomorrow, Brad White's interim head coach for Auburn, we just cut a check for 37 to 40 million, whatever the final number is, to Stoops. He's gone. I think you have John Summerall waiting there to coach as 1A, and then if he for some reason, if he takes the money or the better job at LSU. Which does scare me, especially with the governor coming out here basically taking control of that hiring process. I don't know if Tulane's a state school. It might be a private college.
It's private.
It's private.
Yeah, I thought so. Private college. But I'm sure John Summerall rubbing elbows with a lot of the folks that the governor's with, right? So if the governor likes and if he likes John Summerall, and Summerall's not a Louisiana guy, but he's as close to a blue collar guy as you can get for a multi-million-dollar head college football head coach. I think he would do really well. If Orgeron can do well at LSU, getting talent and win a national championship, John Summerall can do the same thing. But I do think there's a hometown, like he played for Kentucky, coached Kentucky. I think he wants the job. If you read the tea leaves, there's some things out there that he said, other people have said about he wants the job. It's just whether it gets offered to him for the right money and the right timing. Say that doesn't work out, you have Will Stein there in Oregon, who I think jumps at the opportunity from Kentucky. He played at Louisville, but grew up a Kentucky fan. Family had season tickets. His sister or some part of his family has like a business there, so like he's got family ties. So I think you could get that. And if you told me we missed on Summerall because he went to LSU, but we got Will Stein, he didn't have any head coaching experience. He's got Power 4 experience. He's a great OC. I think that's the thing that brings Cutter back. Like, okay, hey, this guy's got an offense that can get me to the league. Now we can really, focus on bringing back some of the talent that we saw play against Tennessee and some of the folks that are stepping up to play of late, to include Cutter. I think that gets him back. And ultimately, even if neither one of those coaches, we miss on both, which would really suck, there would be zero excitement about bringing Stoops back next year, right? You're going to lose Cutter. If Stoops comes back, Cutter's gone. There's zero reason for him to come back. He was highly touted, chased after Florida State. There's going to be these big programs that always make moves. I don't know, what their depth charts is, but if in Ohio State or Miami trying to replace Carson Beck, or say we Oregon State still, they got to replace their quarterback. Penn State's got to replace their quarterback. If any of those schools come calling, he's gone, and I wouldn't blame him for it, right? Because they're going to pay him more money, and it's a bigger opportunity. But I think if you get the right coach at Kentucky, where he can be guaranteed a starting job, he's not going to be fighting another 5-star recruit for reps. I think that gets him there. But how would you be excited if Stoops is back? 5 and 6, even if even if he goes crazy, and somehow wins ball games that he's not expected to. Auburn, Florida, Louisville. We're not beating Vandy at home. Even a 6-6 season, I just don't understand how you would be excited for Stoops coming back, right? So, or the team he's going to be able to put together. It's just going to get worse. Like the decline is going to continue to snowball, and he's just got to go.
How do you think the locker room is with Stoops?
I don't know. Y'all saw some of or one message that I got that we said we'd wait till after the season to discuss that. There's definitely some folks that aren't happy, mostly just with playing time and what they were told was going to be potential for playing time and OC. Who knows how the stories go. But I can't say that Stoops has necessarily lost the locker room, because I see effort on the field. But I mean, eventually you're going to get tired of losing games, right? Or getting embarrassed, and having a chance to win against Texas, and so many things happened that took that game away from you. Never really had a chance against Tennessee. If you go to Auburn and get embarrassed in that game, eventually you're going to be like, all right, man, I want to go. And I know that there's already, just based off the college football dynamic that we have now, people are already having conversations where they're going next year, because they know that Kentucky football is not, going to win games. We're going to find ourselves in not nighttime, primetime game slots. You can be an average player on a winning team and make it to the league. You could be a good player on a bad team and not get looked at, right? So unless you're super special, but that's a good question. I would like to reach out to somebody and see, like, if the locker room is totally lost, how they feel. Post-game press conferences, Cutter Bowley saying all the right things, so it's like no one has outwardly come out, and I think in this world you could do that. You get away with that, right? Like, these guys stink. Like, I'm getting paid, I can say, like, these dudes are terrible. I haven't heard any of that. Whether it's going on in closed doors, who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you've got three groups of guys in that locker room. You've got I'm staying no matter what because I want to be at Kentucky. Then you've got I'm going to wait and see who they hire to see if that's a good fit for me and where I fit in, the plan. And then you've got the guys that I don't care who you bring in, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, how many are in each pot determines kind of what things are going to look like. And I just wondered because, I'm thinking about Penn State, because no matter what we thought about Franklin and the court of public opinion, I mean, the players genuinely liked him. Like, they liked playing with the guy. And now that he's gone, I feel like, just to some degree, that they've kind of just thrown their hands up. Like, that's the season that could have been is gone. Like, there's no playoff. There's no significant, postseason play for these guys. So I think a lot of them have just decided, man, I'm done, So I just wonder, because to your point, Rando, and especially the Texas game, and even most of the Tennessee game, I didn't see any lack of effort on Kentucky's part. They just got whipped. But they didn't give up. They didn't quit. And I respect that. I mean, you're getting blown out 20 plus points and you're still out there competing and fighting. Yeah, I respect that, because it'd be easy, especially in today's world of college football. It would be so easy just to say, man, forget this. I'm out of here. So I just wondered what the pulse of the locker room was and how they felt about a potential coaching change, because we know, we know this. It's not looking good for them to get an SEC win. I'm sorry. It's just I'm just got to call it like it is. And I know you're realistic in that regard.
I am now. I wasn't a couple months ago.
Finally.
I was a couple months ago.
On here that tried to tell you that several weeks ago, but it's okay, man. We love you. It's all good.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Josh on here. That's my Wednesday co-host right there. So, but anyway, yeah, I just because that matters. I think I don't think it matters as much as it should. With transfer portal and all that, but I think it does matter what the pulse of the locker room is, and I think to your point, you see that coach bump when change is made. And
I think the boys would really rally. I think they would rally around Brad White. Because we have known for the last month now that there is no postseason hope, right? So we're still getting effort. I think the boys would rally around Brad White. Who, if it would translate to wins, I don't know. I do think there's a contingent of Kentucky fans who are actually nervous about that. Like, if they let Stoops go and it's not like, hey, this is his last year, we're going to ride it out. We just straight fire him and he leaves and Brad White takes over as interim, because I don't know who else would do it. Maybe Eddie Gran. He wouldn't win any ball games, but maybe he would take over. I think Kentucky fans are nervous that, dang, if Brad White wins a couple games and beats Louisville, like, that's easy for Mitch Barhart to go, there's a new head coach, right? And that's not what we're looking for. Like, I love Brad White, but he hate the guy where we've had a defensive-minded coach for this long, and it's like, we need some evolution here. Like, Summerall's an offensive-minded coach, but he has a great staff. Wherever he goes where the offense can move the ball, and he has evolved with the game while Stoops and his staff haven't. So I think there is some nerves, Kentucky fans, man. If you let Stoops go and Brad White wins games, we don't want the default to be him as the head coach.
Yeah,
kind of like because we got Joker Phillips in our mind, right? Like that happened after they were like, ooh, that did not work.
Yeah, and because one of the things, and I think that's why you see some of these schools that have, there's been 9 head coach firings so far mid-season, and I've said before, don't think for a second that these schools don't have some type of plan or some very short candidate list. And I mean, guys, y'all know well as I do, there's phone calls being made behind the scenes to representatives from, school and coach of some kind.
And extensions aren't happening right now by accident.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Matt
extended by accident.
Got extended. So, but I think one thing that's critical, especially now that we have the one transfer portal window, and that's I'll refer to it as the winter, because that's what we've always called it, right? Till we adapt to the transfer portal window, is you make that move, then you've got a very short amount of time to salvage whatever you can, going back to what we were talking about a second ago with the locker room. So those guys that you want to keep and are talented and could probably go to other schools and be starters right out of the gate, you want to try to control that and mitigate that loss as much as possible. So that's why I'm was asking about locker room, because the potential fallout there is significant, and it doesn't matter what school. I mean, Kentucky, Penn State, Grambling, Prairie View, doesn't make any difference when you change like that. That's that's a risk. Hey, I wonder if Mike McDaniel would be interested in.
Shout out Prairie View and Grambling. Good
man.
Pulls. Good pulls.
Yeah.
I would take Mike McDaniel as an OC for Kentucky. And the last thing I'll say about the locker room thing is, yes, as an OC, 100%. He can't coach. He can't head coach. He can OC. I think this is very much a Josh McDaniels type situation. He couldn't head coach. You put him as an OC where he can just focus on the offense. I think he can do that. I would 100% take that at UK. But to your point of why you're scoffing at me right now, like, are you sure? I think Stoops has lost his edge in the locker room, man. Like, there was a point in time where, like, the blue collar mentality, like, I think players were apprehensive to like, oh man, I ain't trying to piss this dude off. Like he will eat my lunch. Like he will get in my rear if you need. I think this whole NIL thing and players getting played, like last year, the stories we heard about Dion basically just walking all over him and groupies, people coming to the practice field, and who knows how much of it is true. But even if it was like a small bit true, you're like, how does that happen? How does one player who was a first round draft pick, I get it, got a bunch of money to stay at Kentucky, but how does he just take over the program? And he was constantly with Barryon Brown and trying to keep his emotions in check. And Dan Key was dang near out the door and then came back and then couldn't wait to leave to Nebraska. So I think Stoops kind of has lost his edge with this thing and potentially some. I do think they're maybe not a full locker room loss, but potentially some. He didn't have the same sort of respect he had from players and key players, which I think is super important.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right about that.
Let's talk positions.
Go ahead.
The positions. So the ones out there right now: LSU, Penn State, Florida, Va-Tech, Stanford, UCLA, Oklahoma State, and Arkansas. So from the SEC, since that's what we care about generally, LSU, Florida, and Arkansas. How do you rank those? Most appealing to least appealing?
LSU, Florida, Arkansas, just how you said them, I think.
Yep. I agree.
I disagree.
Florida first?
Florida would be the most appealing to me because if you look at it in a vacuum and you're just talking about historically what the program is and all that, then yes, it's LSU. But I'm looking at this dumpster fire that is LSU right now with this governor coming in, like trying to take over the athletic program. I don't want to be a head coach who's got this politician. Not that they don't have to deal with it, but now like this politician is forward facing with it, and he's the governor. Like, bro, go fix a homeless shelter or something. Like, I don't need you doing the coaching search, and telling me what kind of play calls and all that kind of stuff. So that would not be appealing to me right now. Whereas in Florida, I think you have resources. They're a Jordan sponsored team, and we know what type of fan base they can have, particularly if you can bring any kind of modicum of success to them. So I think there's a lot to generate and create unnecessary friction at LSU with that governor taking over right now, and he's firing the AD. So there's just no stability there to me. So that's my issue with LSU, not the team itself, not the facilities or any, the NIL or anything like that. I think they're top tier with that. But that governor being forward facing about all this, if I'm the head coach, that would make me not want any parts of that.
So I partially agree with you. I honestly, I don't know the dude until recently, Landry Cat, until I saw him before. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that he's trying to hold some folks accountable here because, he was explaining the contract. Some are, if not all that money, if a donor doesn't step up, there was some stipulation where like a lot of that 53 million, whatever it was, is Louisiana state taxpayer money. So he was like, this dude gave this contract. I am not letting him. And this is the second one because he did the Jimbo contract, if I remember that correctly.
That's right.
So $110 million or damn near donated to these coaches for stinking, right? So he's like, hey, I'm not letting this dude hire the next coach because he clearly cannot do it. And he brought up some things about, this guy is his agent is, same guys he's hiring. So maybe there's some weirdness going on here. So I don't know. Who knows if in the long run it's actually a good thing for LSU, but I don't necessarily mind him stepping in and saying like, hey, I'm going to hold some accountability here. There was a lot of look at me. I think if maybe you don't appreciate that, there was a lot of like, look what beating my chest, look what I'm doing. So, maybe he could have done it a little better way. But then listen to him talk too about how he wants to get with Congress and NCAA and try to put some parameters around this NIL thing and how we pay players and coaches. So I think he's got some goodness to him. Maybe he's going about it the wrong way. But to your point on the Florida job, if the only person who I think who's a quality candidate right now that we know of that can go down there and actually take over from Florida State and University of Miami and potentially even USF if they continue to climb is Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin can go to Florida and he can own the state of Florida for recruiting, which would be massive, right? I mean, that's, I would say, some of the best, you could argue the best football talent comes out of that state. California, Ohio, Virginia, falling in there, Texas. But so much talent in Florida. I think Lane Kiffin could take that Florida job and be successful. But I think all the other coaches, if you're looking at it, you'd want to go to LSU because you automatically own the state for recruiting. You probably could own some of Mississippi as well. And then the transfer portal is always going to be big for LSU.
I'm glad I'm in the middle here because I'm gonna split the vote.
You on the fence here?
I'm not on the fence, but
Okay.
there's something I want to say that I think a lot of people are overlooking here is, Governor Landry is blaming Scott Woodward and actually fired him for it because he is known to be the author of some pretty ridiculous contracts. However, the LSU Board of Supervisors had to approve this contract for the hire, right?
Yeah.
So Landry wants to come out here and throw Scott Woodward under the bus, but you're the one that approved it, dumbass. So if you had a problem with this big, massive, guaranteed money payout and all this other stuff, then that should have been addressed on the front end, not on the back end when what everybody knew was going to happen happened. And now you're just cleaning house in the athletic department. So I will say this, as of right now, this moment today, I agree with T. I think the Florida job is more appealing because Governor Landry just came in and muddled the waters. Whereas historically, if you're looking at resources, tradition, history, reputation of getting guys to the league, it's clearly LSU. But as we're sitting here talking right now, I kind of got to agree that I think if I'm a coach looking for a job and I catch wind of this situation, I don't know if I want any part of it until at least I get a clearer understanding of how this hierarchy works and who reports to who and who makes what decision. Now Landry's talking about he wants to hire the next coach. Well, buddy, you don't know your ass from last Tuesday about hiring football coaches. I'm sorry.
I think he did clear that up on the Pat McAfee show where he's like, I'm not hiring the coach, but I am putting together a panel of folks who are going to look into this thing and hire him. So, he's going to be involved, right? I ain't hiring it, but my folks is, and they're loyal to me, and my say goes, which honestly, which makes me super scared about Summerall because I think, all the connections seem to be going, in-state guy. He's done a lot of good things for Tulane. He can pull him out there. It makes me super nervous. But do we agree that at least Penn State is the top opening at the moment? Do you think that is accurate, or do you agree with that? No. What is the top opening then? Florida?
Well, based on what we just talked about, historically LSU, current state of affairs, Florida. I think either of those jobs actually are better than the Penn State job because at least at LSU and Florida, you have a legitimate chance to compete in the SEC. Penn State can't beat Ohio State. I don't care who's coaching. And now that Indiana has, Mark Cuban money funneling in, Michigan's not going to stay down more than a year. So, Penn State at best is right now sitting like the third best team in the Big Ten. And, quite frankly, I think they've got those white helmets are kind of cream or vanilla right now because they've got some tarnish with all the chaos, and stuff that's happened to their program over the last several years. So I don't think that job's as appealing as it probably once was.
T?
I agree with Penn State. And I'm with McCurdy. Auburn would probably be better than Penn State once Hugh Freeze is gone. And I'm not necessarily prepared to say it's all high, but I wouldn't sleep on Arkansas. I think if you can be the right coach, and Arkansas, they love their Razorbacks, like because they don't have anything else in Arkansas. So I think people are prepared to.
You're gonna piss off the Arkansas basketball fans, the Cal Truthers. You're gonna piss them off.
I said they're Razorbacks. Like I meant like all. I know they're into baseball and they have great track and field.
Arkansas, like Tennessee, Rando, they have more than one sport they play. So
yeah,
I know you're not used to that.
Exactly.
You've seen their football team. All right, they got one sport,
but they don't tap into one Jerry Jones, right? So you get the right coach, and when you go in like, hey, we got a billionaire over here who loves football. He's a proud Razorback and all that. I don't know if there's some beef between them, but the potential at Arkansas, I think, is worth taking a look if I'm a coach. Like,
I mean, I think you got 3 billionaires, right? You got Purdue, chicken money. You got Walmart. I think Walmart. And then you got
Jerry Jones.
Jones.
So that I'm not saying like they're great or anything, but I wouldn't sneeze at Arkansas because I think there's a lot of potential there. If you play your hand right.
Yeah, they've just always been somebody's little brother, and it was a Southwest Conference, and then or the Big 8, whatever iteration of conference that Arkansas has been in, they've never been able to be like the lead dog. So while I agree with you, I don't necessarily know nationally if that job's viewed as high profile as probably what we see it more so being in the conference because, that somehow, some way, after having to fight Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee and, everybody else around them, they still pull some great athletes, and they've had some really good programs. Baseball is still elite. Basketball has been really good. It's probably going to be really good again. And, traditionally they've proven to be a problem for us in football. So it's definitely a good job. I just don't know that the national perception of Arkansas is strong. So,
you're correct, but that's kind of why I was putting it out there. Not that nationally, people care what I have to say, but just I agree. I think that's one that people would put down there with like UCLA or something, and I don't think it's that bad. I also don't think Virginia Tech is as bad as everybody else thinks it is. I don't think Virginia Tech is appealing to many. It would be appealing to me if I were a coach. I'm not necessarily saying it would be at the top, but it would at least be in the middle. Again, I think.
Yeah, great environment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think people would be ready to invest in the program if you could show that you got some life in you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I would happily be fired from any of them.
Yeah. Especially these contracts. You don't even have to be good. Yeah. You don't have to be good.
No.
Yeah, just get hired. Go in and you can stink up the joint and you can feed your whole family for generations.
That's right. That's right. Generational wealth right there to not come to work. So
I don't need a $54 million buyout. I need ones of millions of dollars, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I'll be perfectly fine. But no, so actually I was talking to somebody today, and Braum got brought up and how he's a potential suitor for Penn State, according to the internet and other jobs and yada, yada. And Louisville fans are potentially getting nervous. I just don't, he was brought up for Florida as well. I don't understand a coach who's doing great things at Louisville. Now, money talks, right? They send you a big paycheck to come that way. That's what does it. But if you're at Louisville, they get you an extension. He's making like $5.5 million right now plus incentives. They get you like $7 or $8 million per year with incentives of $100,000 a game, $500K for a conference championship, $1 million for a playoff appearance, something like that. So if you win, you can get that contract up to 10, 11, 12 million. Why would you go to the Big Ten where you got to beat Ohio State, got to beat Michigan, you got to beat Oregon, you got to beat USC, Nebraska potentially? Who am I missing? Probably Washington has been good, or the SEC where
Indiana.
Sorry, yeah, of course, I missed Indiana. But or the SEC where you got to beat Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and then LSU if they jump back in. The ACC is wide open right now. Like you can go coach in the ACC. Georgia Tech is doing it. Where that conference, especially now it's all jumbled up where Stanford and SMU, JMU, all these different, new schools in there. You can go to the ACC, and not to mention, all you got to do is get to the conference championship. A 2-loss team in the Big Ten or SEC probably not going to make it, right? You can be a 2-loss team in the ACC and get to the conference championship game, and then get yourself into the playoff if you win it, right? So the easier path, and similar to IU last year, where like their schedule was trash, but they got into the playoff. They got beat up when they got to the playoff, but they got there, right? So like no one cares really about what the schedule looks like. If you're winning ball games and get to the playoff, that's what matters. So I don't understand. It goes to what you're saying about Virginia Tech. I don't understand why we're not looking at some of these jobs as more important. Brom staying at Louisville as Louisville guy, you give him a little pay bump. I think he stays. And then, yes, I agree. If I'm looking at some of these jobs, if the money's right and I'm looking at, hey, you promised me some NIL deals. The other thing that we didn't consider with Florida and Arkansas is you're competing with money with basketball. It's just your rev share money. It's gonna be split closer to equal with Florida right now as a national championship and Todd Golden. That weirdo, he can coach and he's winning games. So he's gonna get some money. Cal is gonna require some money for his recruits. So you go to a school where you're only competing with one sport. Makes sense to me.
Well, but think of with the rev share in particular, and you're right though. Like, stay in the ACC. That is your best chance, your easiest chance to be successful is in the ACC. But with the rev share, remember what you were saying about Kentucky. Like that is just that pot of money, right? Like they will still find ways to funnel millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in other ways. And I don't think Florida will have an issue doing that, particularly being a Jordan brand, anything like that. So, like you're right about the rev share, that you're competing the rev share part, but they'll particularly going to football, they'll find a way to get money to football. But I'm 100% with you. ACC is that's where I want. That is my bid to be a successful coach, or the path of least resistance to being successful.
Yeah, yep. And we've seen Ohio State's a good example where they've just basically put all of their eggs in the football basket and just basically burned the other programs, because they just don't care if they're competitive in any other sport. And I think you're going to see more schools start to do that because it's so important to be competitive in football because of, rev share and, the TV money, everything else that goes with it. And that's what pays the bills. That's what funds all these other programs. Let's be honest. So I think you're probably going to see more of that. And to T's point, look at the Big 12 right now, which is pretty competitive. There's a lot of really good teams in the Big 12, but look what Texas Tech is doing. And that's oil money that's going in there. Yeah. That's not cow money like they have in Austin. That's oil money that they're funneling in. And
that's different money.
Somebody decided that they cared about football that owns a bunch of oil fields or whatever it is they got. I'm telling you, man, in a couple of years, that team is going to just absolutely dominate that conference. Yeah. They've got a really good basketball team. Their baseball team's not bad either, but they're going to pour the money into football, and we're going to see them skyrocket. I'm telling you, watch out for it.
It's Hollywood money.
We got pilot. That's right. We got oil money too, don't we, Juice?
Yeah. It's secondhand oil money, but yeah, I'm sure it's still profitable.
Yeah, it's 7-Eleven money, but it's still.
It just popped back into my mind. If we miss on Sumrall and we miss on Will Stein, your boy is going to be right there for Pickens, man. Golish is gonna be at Kentucky.
No,
it's out there. It's out there. You tell me he wouldn't take the job?
I'm not saying he's going to take it, but I think he's going to. No offense, I think he's going to get a better job.
Right. That's what I was going to say too. Like if Kentucky's offering him, then the other places are offering him as well.
Yeah,
he's probably going to accept. And this goes
maybe
back
I've been seeing his name tied to a lot of the schools. Surprisingly,
I still this just goes to my point with like the timing is just really tough for Kentucky to get rid of because you're having
openings already. 9.
Like, I think I would take Kentucky over Oklahoma State probably, and over UCLA if I'm goalish. But if any of those other teams that are available call, I would go there before I would go to Kentucky right now.
Now we just talked
And
about
then Auburn's
this dude.
probably going to open up too. So
Yeah.
We just talked about this dude though as being super talented. So does Cutter Boley change the dynamics there? If he finishes the season strong, and you go, dang, I got a stud. And both of y'all shaking your head. Why?
And it's nothing against Cutter, because you
not.
know that me and Hammer we're both pro Cutter,
Yes.
but you got to have something around him. You got to have investment. You got to have a fan base who cares about it. All, like, just a good quarterback isn't, particularly in this day and age, is not enough. Like, got to have more talent. Got to be putting more into what I can provide when I'm recruiting. Like, that's why it's, again, Cutters.
Juice, I love
Cutters.
I can go
Brian
get a
Hartline.
quarterback, right? Look at Indiana. They went and got a quarterback. Washington a couple years ago, what'd they do? They went to Indiana and got a quarterback, and that was the key to the Ferrari, was Penix. You can go get a player. You can get a quarterback. It's tough to go get a group of receivers or a group of cornerbacks or whatever. I think that's the difference, because I'll reiterate, I'm a fan of Cutter. I think he's super talented. I think he's got a great future. And for Kentucky's sake, I hope you can keep him, because I think he really is special. But I don't think that one player is going to be the draw. Like, hey, we'll keep Cutter if you come. I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's more the opposite, where the coach draws Cutter to back to the program.
Yes.
You hire that's why I put it out there. Some people disagreed. They said you can't lock a coach into one player, but they won't do it because Mitch Barnhart won't do it. He's going to be late to act. He's going to be the reason why we miss out on these coaching hires. I believe it in my gut that if we offered Summerall right now a decent money, $7 to $8 million a year, he would take the job. I think he would have pride to come back and restore Kentucky football. I say restore, but get us to like consistently relevant. I think he would take pride in that.
Yeah, let me ask you this, guys.
Go ahead.
Before we get to the turd bowl, let me throw a turd in this punch bowl. So we know that there's a better than fair chance that a couple of these big time coaches are going to leave their jobs and go take other jobs. And there's probably going to be some of the not as attractive, and not to say they're not attractive, because I think coaching any Power 4 school is attractive. But maybe the lesser, brands are going to probably maybe have a high, a top tier coordinator. But there's going to be some head coaches. There's going to be some shuffling going on.
Yeah.
As these dominoes start to fall, like, how deep into some of these big time programs? Because we've already talked about Lane leaving and going to either LSU or Florida. I think it's probably foregone conclusion that he'll go, right?
So you really think so?
I think he will. I think he would take. I think he would take the Florida job for sure. But unless we're pulling some John Grudens or somebody like that, I mean, there's gonna be coaches that leave and go to other schools, and that's just going to create that domino effect. How deep do you think this thing goes? I mean, like, do you think we go 15, 20 deep in this thing?
I think it's at least a dozen.
I do too. I think it's going to be a lot. And I don't disagree with you, Will, but I think Lane is I think he's a job hopper, and I think the appeal and the attraction and the courtship and the slobbering and all that is going to appeal to him. Because I just guarantee you Florida is going to pay whatever it takes to get a good coach in there.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Lane's been there, 4 or 5 years?
I think it's 5, isn't it?
He's built the program up to potentially being an SEC champion, college football playoff contender, right?
But has he peaked?
Maybe. But You think, but to me, it would be really tough to get your team to play now, unless you got bounced first round and it just was like, okay, this is all I got. But I would have thought he peaked last year with Jackson Dart, who is a good quarterback and actually transitioning to the league pretty well. But he's got a new guy in there. He's making, part of me thinks like the Lane Kiffin of old, bouncing from Tennessee to USC, and hey, look at me. Now he has his shout to the media, and he has no problem taking on a coach. He'll pull receipts from social media. I like that actually about him. I think he's hilarious. But I think the whole like the show's about me, Lane Kiffin, has died down a little bit, which I think has helped him, as a coach. Still don't like the dude all that much, but it would be tough to take your team to college football playoff at Ole Miss. I built that program. I've kind of changed it back around to being relevant, and now I'm leaving to go to Florida. But all that being said, if they want to give me $12 million a year, see you guys, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the check maybe is going to be the thing on top of.
I'm with Juice. I think he's staying at Ole Miss. I mean,
I think so too. I agree.
Yeah, they're giving him. They're giving him whatever, like, he can make whatever demands he wants, and they're giving it to him. And then to McCurdy's point, if Lane wants a natty, he goes to LSU. Y'all, Hammer, I think too, but you know how I feel about. I don't think Lane is a national championship coach. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's elite. So even if he did go to LSU and he was pulling in recruits and all this, he'd find a way to fumble it. And because Rando and I, this was actually me and Rando arguing, because Rando said that he was a proven SEC coach. And I was like, well, what does that mean? What is he proven other than the fact that he has coached in the SEC and he's had a high ranking in the regular season? He hasn't made a playoff. He's choked a couple different times. So I think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's elite as everybody in the country makes him out to be. That's kind of my beef with Lane. Like, and Rando told me to get out of my feelings, and I was like, this is personal feelings aside, how he did us. Yeah. It's just what I've seen him do. So I think he's good. I think he's elite as an offensive coordinator, as kind of like we were talking about with McDaniel. I think he's elite as an offensive coordinator. I think he's good as a head coach, not elite.
And I agree. I don't know, but the expectation is a little different. Not that they don't want to win. I just think the expectation is a little different at Ole Miss than it is at LSU in Florida.
Yeah, no question. It definitely is. Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, I actually, your boy Will here, I agree with this. I thought Joe Brady, the more I thought about it though, is like if Joe Brady left Buffalo, I imagine it's to take, because we're also going to see some NFL head coaching movement too, right? We're already starting to see it. There's going to be some openings. I just don't know. Does he go back to LSU as a head coach? He's got ties there, but have to deal with recruiting and yada, 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 or just go take on a job as a head coach, as an NFL head coach. That seems to be like the more attractive option right now. Once you get into the league, stay in the league, unless you're like a Matt Rule who got fired because he stunk, and that was his only really option.
Yeah, we've seen several guys transition back to college, and the majority of them have not worked out very well.
Yeah. So the reverse turd and punch bowl would be, what if these schools fired these coaches who had been successful but just had bad years, and they misjudged it? They did the Nico thing where they misjudged their value, and these high-profile coaches don't leave. Matt Rule doesn't leave. Signetti doesn't leave. Lane Kiffin doesn't leave. All of a sudden, all these guys, the big fish they were chasing, were like, oh, dang, they're getting contract extensions. They're getting paid. And now I'm LSU or Penn State, and I'm the one who's got to go try to find a group of five coach or an OC and hope that he can turn a program around. What's the likelihood that happens?
I think it's higher than people think. Than people think. So I don't think Signetti's good. Indiana just backed up the Brinks truck for him. So
that's what I'm saying. We're already starting to see contract extensions happen.
Yeah, we're already seeing it, and you know that they didn't just randomly decide that they're going to give their coach an extension mid-season, right? they caught wind of some of that stuff we were talking about a minute ago about how there's already wheels turning at some of these schools. So that T's 100% right. That's what's triggered all these extensions that we're seeing.
Yeah, and so now is the time for AD to really earn his paycheck, right? Like, take your time, do some research, and instead of trying to go for just a big name that's going to get the fan base excited, like obviously that would be nice, but take your time and go find an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator who has shown that he can be successful, or a coastal. I'm just throwing out a school, a Coastal Carolina coach or whatever, just like wherever Signetti came from, right? And then he's shown he can do it. So go find somebody who has shown that they can win at multiple levels. And now might be the time that you got to do your due diligence. Don't panic hire to just try to get a name and pull in a Josh Heupel, who nobody was excited about, and then has worked out pretty well. This is where, to me, an AD really has to earn his paycheck and make a good hire, as opposed to a panic hire because people are getting extensions and all that.
And you're going to see some of these guys that have been canned coaching on the sidelines for somebody next year. They're just recycling some of these guys for the reason you just said. To you is like, oh crap, I got to hire a coach. So let me just get a big name coach.
Yeah, JMU. Thank you, McCurdy.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. Just don't panic hire, and that's what LSU did with Notre Dame. I mean, with Brian Kelly, right? They just wanted to make a splash name hire because, I mean, to me, it's obvious from the get-go he wasn't going to be a fit in the SEC, but he was a big name, and so you could at least get the pep rallies all fired up, but then your product on the field has been less than desired.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's going to be more jobs let go, I am curious to see where Franklin goes. I know there are some Kentucky fans who wouldn't mind seeing him here. I think you could probably get him at a discount because of the money that he's making. I do think his contract says that there's some different language in there, what the buyout is compared to like what his new contract would be, yada, yada. My reservation there is I do think he's a good coach. My reservation there is, though, if he can't get the 2 big wins a year he needs at Penn State, he's probably going to get the 3 or 4 big wins he needs to be relevant in the SEC at Kentucky.
He's already proved that at Vanderbilt, so it's again recycled.
Great point.
You know what? If I was Franklin, I would take any job for $1 million a year just to piss Penn State off and make them pay. I would. Yeah. I live for that level of pettiness, so I would
for sure. We'll see. I don't know how, if we lose this game against Auburn, how we go into Florida with Stoops as the head coach, because my last point here, you mentioned the portal hammer. We really have about 4 weeks, 4 maybe 6 weeks tops. January 2nd, the portal opens. So you better have your new coach at least behind the scenes ready and talking by December. So he can be like, okay,
to give to these players and to recruits committed. You better have something to offer them. Yeah.
Yep. So we have beginning of December-ish and hopefully earlier to say, and if you're telling these players, hey, just so you know, it's going to be Stoops next year, they're going to be like, you can go F right off. All right.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah. It's just not.
Miranda's actually not a bad. That's not a bad name because at least it's an offensive-minded coach. That's not terrible.
Yeah, and it was mentioned before, Brian Hartline. I like Brian Hartline. I would just, we'll see. Maybe that is a guy who would come to Kentucky. I would think Ohio State National Championship, they could go back-to-back. Brian Hartline takes over that offense, basically doesn't skip a beat. Is he another guy who's like, yeah, I'm getting offers better than Kentucky, So would love Brian Hartline, Will Stein, one of those OCs, offensive-minded guys to come in and be. But like T, we had a good point. You got to do your research. You got to find the next. It's a gamble. Find your next Lee. Find your next Signetti. What's old boy's name at Georgia Tech? you know, I'm talking about, you know, Georgia Tech, you know, find the next dude who can come in there and recruit, make your program successful, and then let the money start pulling in.
Brent Key.
But
Brent
Key, thank you. I have zero analysis on the Auburn Kentucky game outside of I hope the boys play well and I hope Stoops loses just because that's it. That's our option. Beat me up about it as a fan. I don't know what to do other than, you know, I just can't even get excited about thinking about winning. I will be excited if we do win. And then the next day I'll be like, dang, that probably means we're keeping Stoops at least another week. But dark mode game, Oklahoma, massive game, 14 versus 18. Tennessee got to have it, got to have this win to stay in it. I don't know what the spread is. I imagine you're at least a 3.5, 4.5 point favorite, maybe even more. Hammer, what's that look like?
It's 3.
3 even, no hook?
No hook. Unless it's changed in the last X amount. I'll tell you here real quick.
Vegas always knows something, but I tell you what, that would seem like an easy bet to me. I'd take
it's down to 2.5 now.
Oh my goodness, I would take minus 2.5 in a minute. What does Vegas know? But what do y'all think keys to the game is? Obviously, we spent a long part of the beginning of the show talking about the defense. Highlight that again if you need to. But really, what's the key? Joey, run game. What do the boys got to do up front to beat a pretty good Oklahoma defense?
Well, I think Ole Miss kind of gave everybody the blueprint on how to beat Oklahoma, right? And to a large degree, I think Tennessee's offense kind of looks similar to what Ole Miss does. So again, unless John Mateer, you know, finds the Superman cape and puts that on and has that, you know, career game of his life, I think Tennessee wins this game by 7 to 10 points. Just quite frankly, because I think we can outscore them, and I'm just not sold on Mateer being 100%. You know, he's 3 weeks now removed from surgery, so and playing in Neyland is different, especially at night. It's just different, and I feel like the crowd, if they're into it, and normally night games they are, it's going to make it tough. Going to, you know, and a lot of players from Oklahoma back in, I think it was 2015 was the last time they were here. You know, Baker and the boys said it's the loudest place they've ever been in their life, loudest stadium they've ever been in, and it's going to be crazy. It's the only night game at Neyland this year, so you know the 102,000 are going to let it all hang out and make it tough. And you know, I mean, just like T talked about, I mean, I don't see anything changing with the defense. We're just going to have to outscore them. But I think it was one team that Josh Heupel wants to hang some points on. It's this one.
Yeah.
Only thing, I'm in lockstep with Hammer on that, because there's questions about Mateer, and we don't know what we're going to get from our corners. Go ahead and put him in press coverage. Try to make Mateer have to hold the ball. You know, throw the timing off a half a second longer. They got a ton of O linemen injured. That's what we're good at, is rushing the quarterback. So try to take advantage of that. Put the corners in press a little bit. Like we're gonna get beat at the corner position from time to time anyway. So just when we're going for it, just go ahead and, you know, kind of stack the odds in your favor. Try to disrupt the receivers a little bit, and give your D lineman just a hair longer to get to Mateer and beat them up. So get them off that 10-yard thing. And Les Banks, there's no point in just trying to protect them the whole game, because they're going to get beat anyway. It just happens. Even McCoy would get beat. So like help yourself out. Put him in some press. And then, you know, my other thing, get Star Thomas in the game. I've been trying to Google it and look it up, and get Star Thomas in the game. Like that's my other thing. Offensively, get Star Thomas in. Defensively, press your corners a little bit.
And Joey, don't turn the ball over.
Yeah. And just the typical freaking stupid unforced penalties that we have all the time.
No false starts.
Yeah.
No false starts.
Yeah. I think if you all keep it relatively clean at home, and again, Joey, he's going to take shots down the field. That's just who he is naturally. But Brazel, one-on-one, take the shot, but don't do anything silly. Turn the ball over. Throw it in a place where you give Oklahoma some momentum. I would take that 2.5 pretty easily.
That's a super hot take, McCurdy. Heupel is not going to OU. He's content. He loves being at Rocky Top, and he's a Danny White guy. So he's not.
Even more so than that, he's an anti-Bob Stoops guy. He ain't going to Oklahoma.
Well, and we talked about this last year. So I said the same thing. I said, man, me and T were talking. It was like Heupel, because Venable's first year was not in the SEC, was terrible, and I was like, hey, Heupel's going to Oklahoma. And then you look out what Venable's buyout is. Heupel's not going to Oklahoma. It ain't happening. Oh, my golly. It was like 60-something million, if I remember correctly. I was he is staying there. If Venable
had to pay them to leave, he wouldn't go because Bob Stoops is still involved in that program, and he's not going to work for Bob Stoops. He's not going to be anywhere that Bob Stoops is involved. Not happening.
Money takes away some emotions, I think. But that got debunked real quick. We were talking about it on the show, and I was like, let me Google what his bio. I was like, nah, he ain't going nowhere. He's stuck, or they're stuck. But he actually, I think he turned around pretty quickly. We'll see how that goes. But
you want a prediction on the Auburn Kentucky game,
brother? Here's what makes me nervous. I think Cutter Boley can win a football game despite the terrible coaching from the head coach and the OC. I do. Now Auburn, new quarterback coming in there, hit their system, not super different with this new guy. It's not like a completely different, Mertz to Lagway last year where, all of a sudden now this dude can run and tear you up, and we got to kind of prep completely different. He was just more efficient. This new QB, blank on his name, but watching him,
Daniels.
Yes, he just makes quick decisions. He seems like he just gets the offense better, can see a little bit better, and we'll see how the defense lines up. We're down a corner again, so we're going to rely on Nichols on one side, who again. Part of it might be scheme, part of it just might be Tennessee receivers, but I was thinking he could at least limit one side of the field. I didn't expect him to match up with Brazel, but we can limit one side. Y'all picked on him just as much as you picked on JQ last week, so it really didn't matter who was on him. Y'all are winning those matchups, so we'll see how that goes. Auburn's got good receivers. Their offense is hit or miss. But this is Kentucky football. Like, this is gonna be Kentucky football where you're like, hey, are we in it? Are we in? And then all of a sudden you're not. So especially on the road in that environment, War Eagle chance. I don't see how we win this game. I think it's more of a higher scoring game because our offense is starting to click. I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn puts up 27-28, we get to, over 20, we're getting the 21-24 mark. But I think they end up winning or at home. And we go another loss in the SEC. And then we'll really see what Florida looks like without Billy and how their offense goes before I kind of predict that game. But I originally thought we were going to get pretty beat up by Florida, but they have not been the Florida I thought they were going to be. DJ has not been the quarterback I thought he was going to be. So that would be something. We lose to Auburn, and then Stoops like final hoorah he beats Florida, and somehow now people are convinced that we're going to keep. I didn't want to think
Well,
about it.
Stoops has kind of
Well,
had Florida's number though. He's got a pretty
Well,
good record against Florida.
Well, Florida, it's something. When I get it, they're playing down in Gainesville. If you look at the stats, it's been like years since Florida has won a game outside of Florida in November in the SEC. It says like if it's even slightly chilly, that them Gators are just froze up, man. I don't know. It's weird, super weird. If they play a game away from Florida in November, it's a loss.
Yeah, they shrivel up.
Yeah.
What was your preseason prediction for this Auburn game?
Win, because I thought Hugh Freeze was trash.
Oh, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Stoops this is the turd bowl. I mean, if you're Hugh Freeze, you bought yourself some grace last week. If you lose to Kentucky at home, you're right back on the hot seat, probably waking up Sunday fired. If you're Stoops and you lose to Auburn and you can't, again, it looks terrible. You're coming back home now. Mitch Barnhart doesn't have the cojones on him to actually pull the trigger, but that I mean, you can't even get near that seat because of how hot it is. And if you lose to Florida again like that will be the final straw. So this is definitely the hot seat turd bowl, and we'll see how it plays out. And I can't have any nice things. Freaking Dolphins got blown out today. Kentucky probably going to lose a bunch at night. You can't even, and then the number one team in the country as of a couple of days ago loses a Georgetown exhibition game. It's just like I can't have anything nice for any extended period of time. I'm getting frustrated by it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel 0% sorry for you because you are a Kentucky basketball fan. Like, if you were Auburn or TAMU or something, I'd probably feel bad for you. But
listen,
but because by extension,
man, don't feel bad for Louisville. Hammer, you got me saying naughty words.
If your people not like, maybe this will shut your people up on Twitter for a couple of days. Probably not. They'll probably still just say Final Four over and over and over again.
No, this is how toxic it is, man. Like, I get it. I thought the same thing. Denzel Aberdeen, not
later,
there,
Juice.
Right? So, see you, Juice. Denzel Aberdeen hurt. J. Lo, so our starting 2 point guards aren't playing. Zell, great defender too. But if you have one good defender, on-ball defender, your defense can't just go to trash just because he's gone. Like, we got to play. We still got to figure that out. Now, it's only the second game these dudes have been playing together, but I think this is good in the long run because they played so well against Purdue. They walked in this exhibition at home and we're like, hey, it's Georgetown. We're just going to, we could sleepwalk through this game. Ain't going to happen. And I think what scares Kentucky fans is you saw this last year with a less talented team. You saw them play up to these top 15 talents. Tennessee, Florida, we lost to Bama, Gonzaga, Duke. We played up. When we played Texas and LSU and Oklahoma, the bottom side of SEC basketball, we looked like ass and we lost those games. And that's what made us a 3 seed and had to play y'all at a 2 seed in the Sweet 16, right? So that you can't drop those games. So I'm hoping this is a wake-up call for the team because we have Louisville right around the corner. We are 2 weeks away from Louisville. Mm-hmm. If you play like that and we lose that game, it can't. I'm not even knocking on wood. It cannot happen, especially with this team that you're alleged to have paid $22 million to. You cannot lose to fat, slow, non-athletic Louisville. Cannot happen. But we're going to get some folks healthy. I think we're going to be okay. And the only person that hates losing more than BBN is Mark Pope. Like, that dude was so pissed and so frustrated during the postseason press conference. Like, I think it's going to be painful as we play Nichols and Valpo coming up going into that. And the last thing I'll say about it is we did all these last 2 games, and the number 5 rated prospect draft pick right now in the NBA, Jaden Quaidens, hasn't even touched the floor. So when he gets on there, we're going to be a completely different team. I think we're going to be okay. But you're not going to hear BBN Twitter slow down. It's just a complete 180 because we went from Final Four, national championship. This team stinks. We're not even going to make the tip. Like, we turn on each other so fast. It was like hang the banner already. 9 is here. And then people on Twitter right now is like, this team, absolute trash. We're not even going to make the tournament. So, yeah, this fan base is 100% toxic, and I love it to death.
Oh, yeah. Crash out is awesome.
Yeah, I just love that they're on the crash out side of it right now.
Yes.
That makes me feel good inside when BBN is in shambles.
Wait till we get it rolling.
Over an exhibition
we
game.
Tennessee. I'll lob up the dunk and we're going to dunk all over the balls. It'll be okay. We ain't worried about it.
Yeah, you are.
No, we're not. Nate and Mick going to get all pushed around. Come on. We ain't worried about it. Not one bit. But we're not there yet. We still got some football. I got football to paint through. You got some you still have potential and high hopes to play up to. So, boys, that was another good one. I appreciate it as always. Thanks for letting me steal your Thursday night. Appreciate everybody listening. If you're a Kentucky basketball fan, calm down. We're going to be all right. The boys got to step up. That looked like absolute trash. That is not Final Four basketball. We're going to be okay. Banner 9's still going. And Tennessee fans, y'all suck. So that's all I got to say.
Go Big Orange.
You got something to say, Hammer?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're a Kentucky football fan, rest in peace.
Hey, please, man. I don't even know what to do. We cannot win this game against Auburn. I don't.
Next week, my hashtag is going to be extend Mark Stoops again, just for that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start the campaign back up.
Maybe Governor Bashir will get involved. He won't ever. But maybe. All right, y'all. I appreciate it, man. As always. The chat filled up with Vol fans, so I do appreciate the love from them, all kidding aside. Thanks for the support. Hammer, appreciate you jumping on. T, love you, brother. Go Cats.